Mr Speaker, I notice there's no Home Secretary this morning, unless the member for Bassett Law has been appointed Home Secretary in the last few hours, which, to be honest, nothing would surprise us at the moment, because this is total chaos. We've got the third Home Secretary in 7 weeks. The Cabinet was only appointed 6 weeks ago. The Home Secretary's been sacked, the Chancellor sacked, the Chief Whip sacked and then unsacked, and the unedifying scenes of Conservative MPs last night fighting like rats in a sack. This is a disgrace. The former Home Secretary has circulated a letter, and that seems to contradict what the Minister just said, because she said it was a draft of a written ministerial statement that was due to be published imminently and had already been briefed to MPs. Is that not true? Can he explain the answer to that? And can he tell us also what time the Home Secretary informed the Cabinet Secretary of the breach, and whether a check's been made of whether she sent other documents through personal emails putting security at risk? Was there a 90-minute row about policy between the Prime Minister and the former Home Secretary? And given the huge disagreements we have seen over the last few weeks between the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister on drugs policy, on Rwanda, on the India trade deal, on seasonal agriculture, on small boats, and a bit of tofu thrown in over the lettuce for good measure, is there anything that the policy is actually agreed on in the Cabinet on home affairs? What we know is that the former Home Secretary has just been running her ongoing leadership campaign, whilst the current Home Secretary is too busy to come to the House because he's doing his spreadsheets on the numbers for whoever he is backing to come next. But who is taking decisions on our national security? Not the Prime Minister, not the past or current Home Secretaries. Borders, security, policing are too important for this kind of instability, just as people's livelihoods are too important for the economic instability that this Conservative Party has created. It is not fair on people, and to quote the former Home Secretary, this is indeed a total coalition of chaos. Why should the country have to put up with this for a single extra day?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm sure my right honourable friend will be aware that breaches of the ministerial code are a matter for the Cabinet Office, not the Home Office, and that is why I am here answering the question today and not the Home Secretary. But the Prime Minister took advice from the Cabinet Secretary, as you saw from her letter, and she is clear that it is important the ministerial code is upheld and Cabinet responsibility is respected. The Prime Minister expects ministers to hold the highest standards, and you've seen her act consistently in this regard. But these were breaches of the code. The Prime Minister expects her ministers to uphold the ministerial code, as the public would also rightly expect, and she took the requisite advice from the Cabinet Secretary before taking this decision. And I'm mindful it's not usual policy to comment in detail on matters like this, Mr Speaker, but if it would be helpful with background, and appreciating much of this is already in the public domain, the documents in question contain draft government policy which remains subject to Cabinet Committee agreement. Having this on a personal email account and then also sharing outside of government constituted clear breaches of the code, sections 2.14 and 2.3, if helpful to look at. The Prime Minister is clear that the security of government business is paramount, as is Cabinet responsibility, and ministers must be held to the highest standards.